Hello there everybody and welcome to a surprise episode of An Ecologist Plays, the channel where we are learning more about nature by playing games. And in this case we are playing a hunting game. Surprise! So this is The Hunter, Call of the Wild, which is currently free on Epic Games. So if you haven't picked it up yet, go and get it there. It is only until this coming Thursday. So we are going to start a new game. Our objective is not necessarily to hunt things because I am incredibly bad at that. Our objective is to look at the African savanna and the creatures and the plants and the landscape that we find there. So join me as we go a bit more on a safari than a hunting safari in The Hunter, Call of the Wild. So we are going to be in the Vurhonga savanna. So let's jump in.
Abusheni, grandchild. Welcome home. I know it looks different than you remember. We've had some problems here at Vurhonga Savanna. I've watched the sun rise and set over this park for 45 years. I've seen miracles of life, wonders of nature you would not believe. Our family's roots here run deeper than the oldest baobab tree in the park. But after 45 years, I'm humble enough to admit I can't be senior warden forever. Droughts, disease, and poachers are a constant threat. My team and I have protected and saved countless species over the years. But after a streak of bad luck, our elephants and all but one rhino are gone. If we lose more animals, the state could shut us down. See, I'm not about to hand the keys to my office to just anyone. I want to keep the role of senior warden in my tribe. Preferably my family. So, grandchild, here you are, standing in the bush. You can protect Vurhonga, save the animals who call this park home, mend what has been broken. This will make our ancestors proud. Spiritually, physically, you're going to face the most difficult challenges of your life, but you can overcome them. I believe in your talent. I always have. Now, ready to prove Grandfather Njabulo right?
Alright, so that was a bit of an introduction. We are now going to start trying to get this park.
You must have had a long flight, didn't you? Well, let's stretch your legs with some basics. You can finish these in any order you like. I'd start by reacquainting yourself with this area. Climb the nearest lookout tower. Take in the view, take note of your landmarks, and see if you can spot any wildlife. Then I'd go ahead and reopen the nearest outpost. We stopped keeping them up after last year's budget cuts. With your help, they'll make fine shelters again. Finally, show me your hunting skills. Track and harvest an animal of your choosing. I'll be judging the quality of your kill.
Okay, so those are the things we need to do. Great stuff. So we are going to be taking care of this park over here, and of course our first objective is to climb the tower. Whenever I get into a new area, I do like to have a bit of a lookout, although not on a rickety structure like this. I have got terrible fear of heights, so I would not, in essence, be climbing a tower like this. Recently, my wife, my dad, and I had the opportunity to climb a structure not quite like this, more of a straight ladder, and it was really a rickety structure. And we decided, you know what, we prefer living rather than having a look at the view. But normally, I would climb the nearest kopje, so the nearest little hill like that one over there, and well, probably more like that little one over there because I'm not extremely fit, definitely not fit enough to climb that mountain there, but I could climb a little kopje like that and then have a look around the landscape, because you really need to understand the lay of the land if you don't want to get lost. And of course, if you want to see some awesome animals. So we are going to we're almost at the top. Let's just have a look over here. Right, so we can survey it. What a beautiful landscape it is.
You see it again, don't you? Africa, the land where people began. I knew you couldn't leave Vurhonga forever, grandchild. The day our family adopted you, I saw the fire in your eyes, and I said, that child is Noi, mystical, magical. And now I know I'm right. The ancestors brought you back here on my behalf. Thank you for coming. You've still got those other jobs to do, right? Don't slack.
Don't worry, Grandad, we will not be slacking. Instead, we are going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff. So I have marked, if we just have a look here, you can see there, it appears that there is a watering hole over there. Generally a good place to start looking for animals. So we are going to be heading over there in a moment. But of course, we first have to go and make camp and locate the camp, which is right over there, little outpost area. So let's head in that direction. Now, of course, the biome that we are in is savanna, and savanna is characterized by a mixture of trees and grasses. Now, in Africa, you can actually see whether the savanna that you are in, whether it is a good quality for grazing and stuff like that, or a relatively poor quality veld, based on the trees that you have present. Now, that we have over there, that's a typical acacia tree, so a typical thorn tree, and they generally grow in relatively good soils, so in soils that are generally in clay and more nutrient rich, whereas a lot of your broadleaf plants, what have we got here? This looks kind of like a broadleaf tree. This kind of looks like tambuti, to be honest. It does resemble tambuti, which is a very poisonous plant. Anyway, so a lot of these plants will be growing in areas where there is less palatable soil, and they themselves are generally then also less palatable. So depending on where you are in the landscape, you may actually have very palatable savanna or really horrible savanna in terms of palatability. Regardless, it is an interesting landscape, and we should be able to see quite a few interesting animals. Now, this guy of ours is much fitter than I am in real life, but even he is getting quite tired. You can see the heart beating at the bottom there. And that just shows that we are currently really, breathing heavily. If we were to take out a rifle, I think it would sway quite a bit. Not at the moment, because we have caught our breath again. But if we have run quite a bit, exhausting ourselves, and then try to aim, then the rifle does sway quite a bit more. So you need to keep an eye on your stamina. It's not like you're going to faint out in the bush, I think. I haven't tried it yet, but I don't think you're going to faint out in the bush here. But we are going to claim this little outpost for ourselves as well.
Now you just have to do one more thing. Then I have a surprise for you. No, I'll spoil the surprise for you. It's more work. Such is the life, eh?
Indeed.
That outpost is much more accommodating thanks to your handiwork. Thank you for fixing the place, grandchild.
Okay, so we now have to take out an animal, I believe. And we are just going to keep a lookout with our trusty binos. We are going to go for this little copy. As I've mentioned, what I like to do is I like to go out to the closest little hill and then survey the area from up there. And in the process of doing so, I think we're going to actually discover this little landmark over here. Okay, so Vurhonga Heights. Okay, so here, actually, interestingly enough, it says here that the Dutch called these little rocky outcrops kopjes, which means little head, because in Afrikaans also, koppies is what we also call it, and it also just means little head. And so you have this flattish landscape, and then very often you have got these large boulders lying around, almost as if giants just placed them. But these are very often granitic hills, or little granite outcrops, or dolerite, or some kind of harder stone.
It may not be luxurious, but staying low is always smart. Hey, you're young. You can handle it. Me, with my old back.
Yeah, but I'm going to climb up here.
Get up again.
There we go. We are getting up this little kopje. We're going to be able to survey the bush from up here. Right. Now, very often these little kopjes here are of some kind of rock that it doesn't erode as easily. And the surrounding rocks, very often they are volcanic in origin. And many of these cases, what we call intrusive igneous rock, which is when magma actually solidified underground. So the soil level would have been above these kopjes, and magma pushed up, solidified roundabout over here, and then the surrounding rocks and soil eventually eroded away, leaving behind these harder rock outcrops, and you can find them scattered all over the landscape where the intrusive igneous rock actually formed. But this is a marvelous vantage point from which to have a look, and we can see there it looks almost like that could be, I think that could be Tambuti, which is a Euphorbiaceae tree. The Tambuti is poisonous, but some species like black rhino will be able to eat it. Don't see anything else. There is some kind of wreck, possibly.
When you were still tiny, I gave you my favorite binoculars to practice spotting animals.
Springbuck.
Not 1 hour later, you broke them. Now you can finally repay me.
So those antelope that we saw somewhere, there we go, there, those are South Africa's national animals. And they are, well, springbuck basically means jumping goat, because they've got very characteristic behavior where which we call pronking, which is when they have their legs stiffened and they kind of just go boink, 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 boink in that, what we call pronking. Quite characteristic. Very often when they are chased by predators, they will also just do the pronking to show how fit they are, and the idea is likely that predators will then go, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't actually chase this individual because, oh my word, he is so fit. Maybe I'm just going to be wasting my time.
Nature is wonderful at providing cover for the hunter who knows where to duck.
Yes. Okay, so we will be able to use these plants for cover. And what have we got? We've got some kind of collectible, some kind of mask. Okay. We have found the mask of a Sangoma. So Sangoma being a traditional healer, that I don't know why we just picked up the mask of a Sangoma, but anyway, we have that in our backpack now. This game is just gorgeous. So this typical big acacia tree, and it will have its roots here between the granite here. Water running down will collect in these little sections where the rocks meet, infiltrate into the soil, and this tree over here has got a lot of water, able to survive quite well in this little savanna. Even if the surrounding areas are dry, whenever it rains, water filters in here, infiltrates into the soil, and the tree has got a lot of water to survive. Anyway, so I guess we have to go and hunt something, don't we? I can't just have a look at how beautiful the game is. Maybe we can go for a springbuck? But I also do want to go have a look and see what's going on at the watering hole. We are just going to slide down here, making quite a bit of noise here as we are moving through the brush. Of course, that is a problem. If you want to stalk an animal, you've got to keep an eye out on the wind direction, and you also have to make sure you don't make too much noise, because animals don't want to be caught or shot or anything like that. So yeah, they will definitely run away as soon as they hear you approach. When out in the bush, always useful to occasionally just stop and look around, see if you can see anything interesting.
Animals give you
we've heard something.
Response when you speak their language.
A side-striped jackal, a warning call.
You brought the right calls, that is. A real hunter is always prepared.
So that warning call most likely meant, well, in real life at least, there we go, there is something there. That's a side-striped jackal. I've never seen a side-striped jackal. That is so cool. So typical Canidae used to be in Canis, the genus, as well, although apparently there's a big push to actually get the two jackal species of Africa, two specific ones, the side-striped jackal and the black-backed jackal, into a different genus than Canis. There we go, an animal has seen you. Now, they have got very good eyesight. Obviously, I'm standing out in the bush here. The predator there, the side-striped jackal, would see me. Anyway, not a problem. We are also here to look at the beautiful animals here. And this... what have we got here?
Fun and games aside, mind what kind of racket you make. You never know who's listening out there. Spook the wrong buffalo, you're liable to get smashed.
Yes.
Mhumbi, the side-striped jackal, sticks to the woods and the scrub, scavenging from other predators or negligent campers, unless fruit is in season. When there's fruit, that's all Mhumbi eats. Consider them gentle predators.
Generally, one does not have to worry too much about being attacked by jackals and so out in the wild. They tend to keep the distance from humans. Unless, of course, they have got rabies. Ooh, that's a gemsbok mating call. I would not mind
know how to use a gun, right?
bagging a gemsbok.
Take a breath, point, and shoot. Boom.
The gemsbok would be somewhere out on the plains. Ooh, what is that? Oh dear. Not sure whether I should be taking this out, guys. This is the top predator in the African jungle. Now we're not upwind nor downwind of it. Now normally you'll have lions in prides, but there's a gemsbok. Oh, yes. So with there being one lion,
Chipene, you call it the Gemsbuck or South African oryx, is a major target for hunters and poachers. Their horns fetch a deluxe price. Despite that threat, they've lost so many natural predators, their population is booming at an unsustainable rate. Njabolo's Amateur Hunting Tips 101, take a breath and hold it before taking a shot. Steady hands, reliable aim.
Going to try and get closer. I wouldn't say that the gemsbok population has really exploded. They are very popular on game farms, though. A lot of game farms do have gemsbok on their farms, and they do very well. But they are extremely good at also. Okay, it's still the mating call. It's not an alarm call, so it hasn't spotted me yet necessarily. But they are anyway. As I was saying, the gemsbok are very good at not being eaten. They have those long horns on the top of their heads, which they will use to, well, deter predators, keep them away. There's that lion still. Seems the gemsbok is slightly more to the right-hand side here. There he is. Okay, the question is, should we go for the shot or should we wait? As I said, I am horrible when it comes to the actual shooting of the animals here. I don't think I've actually shot anything. So, yeah, you may be witnessing my first kill if I am even lucky enough to get to the gemsbok on time. But we are going to slowly make our way through the taller grasses here, occasionally stopping, and then trying to sneak a little bit closer. I know it is somewhere over there. There, okay. It's got its back turned towards us, and may actually be the perfect chance to try and shoot at least. So, fingers crossed, guys. And
blood. Telltale sign of a wounded animal. Or sometimes a man.
Okay,
hey,
so
you never know out here.
I managed to wound it. Now, of course, I've got to track down the wounded animal, and in the process, hopefully not get eaten by something like the lions. I should have tried to sneak up a little bit closer still. It was just too far. Well, that one lion is still lying down there, doing what he does best, just lying around, enjoying life. But as I was trying to say, if this male here is part of a pride, then there would be lionesses somewhere as well. But male lions, when they reach adolescence, are of course kicked out of the pride. And then they have to go and fend for themselves until they manage to actually take over another pride. Okay, so there we go. This is where we actually shot it. Oh, it was a vital organ hit. Now, there's a lot of blood here. It was running more towards this side, I believe. So the fact that I hit a vital organ means that it's probably not too far away. It would have bled out. There we go. Of course, here are the dung. Very fresh droppings. Now, with it being a herbivore's dung, what you would normally find is that the droppings over here would, of course, contain a lot of plant material. Depending on the species, if you're looking at something like gemsbok, they have relatively good digestive systems. So they're able to break down most of their food, and they actually don't have a lot of coarse material in their dung. Okay, this antelope over here, the broad part of the hoof, that's the back, and the narrow part, that's the tip of the hoof, so the animal was walking in this direction. But as I was saying, with the gemsbok, they have got those long horns, and there are reports of the Bushmen in the Kalahari actually using dogs to hunt down the gemsbok, and then the gemsbok would actually disembowel the dogs with those long horns. So they can be extremely dangerous if cornered. Let's hope we do not actually corner it now. Very low bleed rate. Unfortunately, it means that we could still be after it for quite a while.
Hamgani, the blue wildebeest, were born to run.
A lot of blue wildebeest move through here.
In herds of thousands.
However, this is ours.
They are not the healthiest animals. Diseases like foot and mouth spread quickly among them. So do parasites. We must keep a watchful eye over our fleet-footed friends.
Yeah, interesting there then the point there that they can actually carry a lot of diseases. You do not want to mix things like wildebeest and cattle, because they are able to transfer quite a few bovine diseases from them to the cattle. Diseases that they are immune to, but the cattle are not. And the cattle very often will die as a result, or get very, very sick as a result of those diseases. And now we're going into the reeds. Oh dear. The reeds are the perfect place for buffalo. Well, not to ambush us per se, because they're not after us, but the buffalo will very often, Cape buffalo, will be chilling around in these... Oh, yeah, there's lion print as well. But buffalo will very often be chilling in these types of reed beds close to the water, and then when hunters surprise them, they then meet their unfortunate end. So we are going to try and move through here as quickly as we can. We've got the tracks of the gemsbok. It was running. Let's just quickly scan and see if we can find or see anything. There is a gemsbok. I'm not sure whether that is actually ours. I don't think that one was ours though. I think ours somewhere more to this side. Oh, I think we found ours. I think eventually it did bleed out. And here we go, everybody. Our first gemsbok. This is such a beautiful, beautiful animal. Characterized by the silver at the top there, the greyish at the top, black line and white belly. Now the coloration is extremely important and perfect for this animal. So as I was saying, the long horns, there we go. So we can see here the long horns. This is a female, so the females have got more slender horns than the males. Males have got thicker horns, and that's because they will use that for fighting predominantly as well. So intra-specific competition with males fighting one another. But this coloration, the grey colour here, blends in very well with the drab vegetation. The black line over here and the white here, the white belly, you'll very often find that with animals that occur in desert-like environments, because the light colour here will help keep the animal cool, where there's a lot of sunlight bouncing off the ground. And then instead, if it were added black belly, for example, here, that would heat up more quickly. But the white color here will reflect any sunlight bounced off the ground. That's reflected off the ground or rocks onto them. It will reflect it again back from it, trying to keep it cool as well. Now, they are able to survive in extremely hot areas, because right over here in the neck part, around about here at the neck and head part, there's what we call a arid mirabile, which is, I believe I mentioned that in one of the previous videos as well. But that arid mirabile there is a counter current system. As the gemsbok breathes in, there's a bit of evaporation of water in the nasal area here, which then cools the blood that's in the blood vessels in the nose section of this animal. That will then travel back in this direction, and it then goes through this arid mirabile, which is that countercurrent system. And as warmer blood from the body actually goes towards the brain, it is cooled by the cooler blood moving from the nasal passage. And in that way, it actually prevents the animal from getting hot blood into the brain. Basically blood that is too warm and would kill the animal if it went into the head. Just by breathing and cooling down the blood, it is then cooling down the blood going into its brain, which I think is just an amazing adaptation. This animal really is the so-called Prince of the Dunes. Brilliant, brilliant creature. Relatively large ears, not only for good hearing, but also to keep cool. And then those horns, as I've said, for defense and for competition, for fighting with other males. In this case, the female, not going to use it too much for fighting, but definitely going to use that for defense. Lions, however, have learned that you can kill a gemsbok by jumping onto the back. Especially big male lions will do this. They jump onto the back, front paws over there, hind paws over there, and then they break the back. They pull their paws in different directions, breaking the back of the gemsbok in the process. That's the only way they're really able to quickly take down a gemsbok, because being pierced by these horns, basically a death sentence. Yep, that was indeed a lung shot. So nice big lungs for the animal. I would have hoped to actually get the heart, but you know, at least that was wasn't, I would say, a quick kill, but unfortunately not too quick. But we did manage to track it, thankfully. Right, so there's my first kill.
I could not ask more of you. That was perfectly executed.
Thank you, Grandad.
That is everything I asked you to do. Awe, grandchild.
Awe.
Oh no,
Oh dear.
have a problem. Remember how we lost the elephants and all but one
Oh
rhino?
dear, poachers.
You know what the problem was, don't you? Poachers. Show me their money. You know that one, yes? It's from famous American movie. Spend your cash wisely, grandchild. They littered the reserve with traps. The Vusha, the eastern land, was hit hardest. My crew helped the police push these poachers out of the Vusha, but they left so many traps behind. No matter how many we've cleared, we keep finding more. A junior guide spotted a few of these traps not far from where you started. Could you kindly clear them out?
I will do my best, Grandad. I am just currently being watched by... Oh, that's the mating call, yes. That sound. Although that's more territorial call that it's giving there. We are just going to walk backwards slowly. We've got a long way to go back to our camp. But whatever you do, if you are faced with a lion, don't run. As soon as you run, you become food. So let's actually quickly look at these little guys here. And then we'll run, because even though we did just say we're not going to run, we are going to run. But these typical tracks, big, about the size of your hands, almost as big as your hands, with the 4 characteristic pads there in the front, and no claw marks. That's typically how you know that you're looking at a cat. And the size here will tell you that the cat you're looking at is, in fact, a lion. But savannas like these would typically burn as well. Now, I don't see any areas that have burned recently in the game here. It would be interesting if they actually do have an area that has burnt. I haven't played this game enough to know whether there are burnt areas or not. But in those burnt areas, antelope would very often congregate because of the fresh growth of grasses. Whenever there's a fire coming in through here, a lot of these grasses have got very little nutrients left, depending on whether you are in palatable or unpalatable grasslands or savanna. The grasses here may still have a bit of nutrients in there, or not at all. And the only way to get more tasty grasses growing would be to actually burn. Almost thought we had rhino dung midden over there, but apparently not. Anyway, so I'm hopefully going to at some point come across a burnt area in this game, but we'll have to keep an eye out for that. A springbuck! Gorgeous antelope. Again, as we had with a gemsbok, you had the black line and the white belly, also reflecting sunlight, keeping the antelope cool in the dry, hot regions that they occur in. Okay, this is another little outpost we can build for 1,700. It's a little bit of a high hide. Not sure whether there are hippos in the game here, but oh wow, look at that. Blue wildebeest. That one, however, is a lighter color. That one does appear to be some kind of color morph. I'm not particularly fond of color morphs. Well. Okay. That's how you do that. So color morphs I do have a slight problem with. So normally your blue wildebeest, for example, like the ones we have in the game here, would have very good genetic stock or variability. So they really have varied genetics, which means that they are able to adapt to changes in the environment and survive and things like that. But color variations, like it seems like I think this is a golden wildebeest, which is a color variation of the typical blue wildebeest. They have been bred by humans to look like this. They have very limited genetic variability. They are severely inbred because the genetics to actually get to an animal that looks like this is really a small group of individuals. So I do not like it. For the conservation of the blue wildebeest in this landscape, whenever I do see something like this, which is a color variation, I am going to take it out. We are here to conserve nature, and as part of the conservation of nature, it does mean that we need to keep the genetics as outbred as possible. And unfortunately, this color variation of the blue wildebeest is not what we need. So, there we go. Golden wildebeest, the gold fur type. So let's have a quick look here. Inspect. X-ray. Yeah, that was straight in the head. Unlike buffalo, the boss at the top here doesn't really merge. We don't have the two horns merging in the boss in the front here. So buffalo, you will have that, and they will use that kind of like a battering ram to charge through you or into predators, and they will use their horns to hook the predators and humans as well. But blue wildebeest, more skittish. They generally won't attack you. They'll generally run away. Beautiful animal, but I do prefer the less inbred individuals. Okay, so we managed to get $780 for our golden wildebeest that we have just shot. And of course now there are so many blue wildebeest tracks that are present here because they had come down to drink, and wildebeest, I think that was just an alarm call. A warning call from the springbok, yes. So wildebeest are what we call water dependent, meaning that every day they need to come to the water to drink. And one of the best places to then wait for them would be at this. So at the watering holes. And this looks like a snare. Yeah, there we go. That is a gin trap. Illegal to use in South Africa. Still sold in some areas. Because farmers very often will use the gin trap here to actually catch jackals. But it really does... it catches indiscriminately, and it catches a variety of other more endangered animals as well. So we are going to interact, remove that trap.
Saving
that
the
snare.
Savanna, one good deed at a
Yes.
time.
Looks like there's another one that's been put in here. Yes, indeed. Okay. It's obviously tied to a post that's hammered into the ground, because when something gets their legs stuck in there, they are going to fight for their lives, and in the process, the poachers don't want them escaping, so they hammer it in.
Another good deed.
Okay, so it looks like there is another one here somewhere that we need to get. Now that's just one type of trap. These dense thickets here could house a variety of other traps that poachers could use to snare their prey, but unfortunately what also happens is things like elephants will get trapped in it, and they may actually escape, and in the process then they are caught in these snares that will damage their trunks or their feet, and make it almost impossible for them to survive, or really hamper their well-being. So we are doing a good deed. We are removing all these snares.
With so many good deeds, the animals are going to like you.
Except for the ones that we kill. They're not going to like us.
That's just a taste of the warden's work here in the Vusha. There are other regions to explore. But if you want to stay here, make yourself useful. Check your mission log for assignments. You're learning. Good. Those who learn adapt. Those who adapt, they survive. If you'd rather continue exploring Vurhonga, head to my wishing tree, marked on your map. There's something important you must do before we go much further.
Okay, so that is where we are going to call it a day, everybody. I will join you again tomorrow. We are going to have another little The Hunter Call of the Wild episode tomorrow again. And in the meantime, of course, if you enjoyed this game, do remember that it is currently on sale on Epic Games. On the Epic Games Store, it is currently free, and there are also discounts on a variety of the DLC, including the Vurhonga Savanna pack. So until next time, everybody, stay safe and don't let the lions bite. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Cheers!